Genesis 21:22.
Chronological Bible puts the Bible in chronological order. It's like in the proper timeline, like all the way from Genesis with Adam and Eve, all the way to Revelation. A covenant with Abimelech. Genesis chapter 21, verse 22. And it came to pass at that time that Abimelech and Phicol, the commander of his army, spoke to Abraham, saying, God is with you in all that you do. Now therefore swear to me by God that you will not deal falsely with me, and with my offspring, or with my prosperity, but that according to the kindness that I have done to you, you will do to me and to the land in which you have dwelled. And Abraham said, I will swear. Then Abraham rebuked Abimelech because of the well of the water. When the servants had ceased and said, I do not know who has done this thing. You did not tell me, nor had I heard of it until today. So Abraham took sheep and oxen and gave them to Abimelech, and the two of them made a covenant. And Abraham set seven ewe lambs of the flock by themselves. Then Abimelech asked Abraham, what is the meaning of these 7 ewe lambs which you have set by themselves? And he said, you will take these 7 ewe lambs from my hands, and they may be witnesses that I have dug this well. And therefore he called that place Beersheba, because the two of them swore an oath there. And thus they made a covenant at Beersheba. So Abimelech rose from Phicol, the commander of his army, and they returned to the land of the Philistines. Then Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba, and there called on the name of the Lord, the everlasting God. And Abraham stayed in the land of the Philistines many days. Genesis chapter 22. Abraham's faith confirmed. Now it came to pass after these things that God tested Abraham and said to him, Abraham, and he said, Here I am. And then he said, Take now your son, your only son Isaac, in whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains which I shall tell you. So Abraham rose early in the morning, and saddled his donkey, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and he split the wood for the burnt offering, and arose, and went to the place in which God had told him. And then on the 3rd day Abraham lifted his eyes and saw the place afar off. And Abraham said to his young men, Stay here with the donkey, and the lad and I will go yonder and worship, and we will come back to you. So Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it on Isaac his son, and he took the fire in his hand, and a knife, and the 2 of them went together. But Isaac spoke to Abraham his father and said, My father. And he said, Here I am, my son. And then he said, Look, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering? And Abraham said, My son, God will provide for himself the lamb for the burnt offering. So the 2 of them went together. And then they came to the place of which God told him to go. And Abraham built an altar there, and he placed the wood in order, and he bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched out his hand, and took his knife to slay his son. But an angel of the Lord called to him from heaven, and said, Abraham, Abraham. And so he said, Here I am. And he said, Do not lay your hand on the lad or do anything to him, for now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. Then Abraham lifted his eyes and looked, and there behind him was a ram caught in the thickets of the thorns. So Abraham went and took the ram, and he offered it up for a burnt offering instead of his son. And Abraham called the name of the place, The Lord Will Provide. And as is said to this day, In the mount of the Lord it shall be provided. And then the angel of the Lord called to Abraham a second time out of heaven, and said, By myself I have sworn, says the Lord, because you have done this thing and have not withheld your son, your only son. Blessings, I will bless you, and multiplying, I will multiply your descendants as the stars of heaven and the sands in which is on the seashores. Your descendants shall possess the gates of the enemies, and your seeds of all the nations of the earth shall be blessed because you have obeyed my voice. So Abraham returned to his young men, and they rose and went together to Beersheba, and Abraham dwelt at Beersheba. The family of Nahor. 22 verse 20. Now it came to pass after these things that it was told Abraham, saying, Indeed, Micah also has borne children to your brother Nahor, and Huz his firstborn, Buz, and his brother Chimel, and the father of Aram, and Cheez, and Hazo, and Peladash, and Jidlap, and Bethel, and Bethel begot Rebekah, and these 8 Milcah bore Nahor, Abraham's brother, and his concubines, whose name was Reumah, also bore Teba, Gaham, and Thrashes, and Maacah. Sarah's death and burial. Chapter 23. Sarah lived 127 years, and these were the years of life of Sarah. So Sarah died in Kirjath Arba, and that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. Then Abraham stood up from before his dead and spoke to the sons of Heth, saying, I am a foreigner and a visitor among you. Give me property for a burial place among you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. And the sons of Heth answered Abraham, saying to him, Hear us, my lord. You are a mighty prince among us, and bear your deads in the choicest of your burial places. And none of you will withhold from you his burial place, and that you may bury your dead. Then Abraham stood up and bowed himself to the people of the land and the son of Heth, and he spoke with them, saying, If it is your wish that I bury my dead out of my sight, hear me and meet with Ephron, the sons of Zohars, for me, and that he may give me the cave of Machpelah, and which is at the end of his field, and let him give it to me at the full price as property for a burial place among you. Now Ephron dwelt among the sons of Heth, and Ephron the Hittites answered Abraham in the presence of the sons of Heth, and who all entered at the gate of the city, saying, No, my lord, hear me, I give you the field, and the cave that is in it. I give it to you, in the presence of the sons of my people. I give it to you, and bury your dead. Then Abraham bowed himself down before the people of the land, and he spoke to Ephron in the hearings of the people of the land, saying, If you will give it a place, hear me. I will give you money for the field. Take it from me, and I will bury my dead there. And Ephron answered Abraham, saying to him, My lord, listen to me. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that between you and me? So bury your dead. And Abraham listened to Ephron, and Abraham weighed out the silver for Ephron, which he had named the hearing of the sons of Heth, 400 shekels of silver, currencies of the merchants. And so the fields of the Ephrons, which was in Machpelah, and which was before Mamre, and the field of the cave, and which was in it, and all the trees that were in the field which were within it, all the surrounding borders were dreaded. And Abraham has the possession of the presence of the sons of Heth before all who went at the gate of the city. And after this Abraham buried Sarah his wife in the cave of the field of Machpelah, and before Mamre, and that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And so the fields and the caves were deeded to Abraham by the sons of Heth as property for a burial place. Wow, that's a lot to get in. Information time. In the narrative in Genesis 23, 7 through 20 is a picture of a business being transacted during the late 3rd or 2nd millennium. Abraham purchased a property which is then deeded as his possession. Ancient text dealings with the businesses and commercial matters, as well as other types of texts, have been discovered at Ibla, in the Semitic city-states in the northern Syria that flourished about 2400 to 2250 BC, prior to Abraham's time. Although not mentioned in the scriptures, Ibla casts its shadow over the history of the northern